Welcome to AFL Uncensored. I'm your host, T. Johannesson, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Omari Fraser. Omari, this is kind of a cool episode for us. It's like the day before the battle of the AFL Uncensored co-hosts tomorrow as we face off in a game that's pretty special for, I think, both of us. Obviously, doing this podcast together for the last few months, and also having played together last year, and the Wolfpack kind of being my old team, and I'm on my old team, but there's also my new team. So I'm really looking forward to that game tomorrow. I'm looking forward to this podcast, and I have some cool stories to tell this week. Kind of a lot of crazy stuff happened this week. We've got some good game recaps and two games on the slate this week. Of course, the aforementioned Bucks Wolfpack, and then the Jets heading to Edmonton, which should be a really easy game. Omari, let's start with you. How did things go this week for you guys? Big win for the Wolfpack. I know a lot of people, most people on the AFL message board on Facebook were picking the Cowboys to win. I was one of the people that picked the Wolfpack to win. I was happy to see the Wolfpack win, and it looked like, I think it was the highest scoring game we've had all year as far as both teams putting up points. So how was it from your perspective? How did you guys battle? What did you see? I know Soretsky had a big game, and Leeson was throwing touchdowns all over the place.
Yeah, Leeson was it was a game for sure where the whole team came together. For how he positioned us going into that week. It was just one thing we wanted to do. Just I guess as Captain said, all right, guys, like a lot of young players, like you just had your first taste of AFL football coming from Cold Lake, and it was good to get out all their, like, what they were excited about, what they saw, what they didn't see, and everything, and said, hey, now we climb. Like Cold Lake's the pinnacle of what we're trying to work towards. So now let's take it game by game and work towards that goal of, working towards beating them and striving towards, the great things that they're doing and trying to do that with us. So it was awesome to have it be game 1 against game 2 against the Cowboys, where now I feel like it was a good matchup for us here, for them as well. It was honestly quite even to where they scored the first touchdown. And that's kind of really what set the tone. And again, happy to see the young guys come out, ball out, really show. And, it's nice that we had a big game from Daryl and Alex Soretsky, where, just looking at the stats, he went off for 140 yards, four tugs, which definitely doesn't hurt at all. And, he had a huge game there, and they were connecting really well. But other guys too supported. Our number 16 had a touchdown. One of our receivers, Zion, Lane, got all these guys all stepping up. So that was really huge to see from them. On the defensive side, guys stepping up, being in the situations, having the game still be close and coming through. That was definitely something I was excited to see. Skylar led us with 8 tackles, Caleb with 6.5. We had a late addition with Chris Burak making a return, which was awesome to see. He's doing it with his wrestling career and as well trying to get some games in with us. So it was awesome to have him back in our linebacker core. So it was awesome to see within there with 4 and Bryce as well. So it was good. And the league is a lot more balanced than people like to edge on. Like, I know we do the rankings and everything, and where it's like Cold Lake 1, Airdrie and Edmonton 2, and this and that. And like, I know Grand Prairie always gets the Peace Country always gets the short end of the stick for being always been like, but they honestly, a few plays that didn't go our way, they could easily drove down, gone the dub, and completed their back-to-back road trips with a dub there. And honestly, it was a game where it was definitely very fun to compete. It was a game where everyone was in it, and that was something that was reaffirmed by the people in the stand, just hearing their feedback, where they were very entertained by the game and said, hey, it was a great game. Peace Country came out, the Cowboys came out and balled out, and man, it was definitely a fun one. And it was exciting. It was exciting because it wasn't a blowout, on either side, where it was a game where everyone felt like they competed and they contributed and did something to help the game move forward. So we're happy for us, and on to you guys now.
Yeah, I think I watched that game on film, and it was an entertaining game. It was an entertaining game to just watch on film. And what's really cool about the Cowboys, and again, we've given a lot of props to that team on the podcast, and I think deservedly so. And it's really good to have, for me, especially being a guy that's been around for a long time, to see a good Grand Prairie team back up there. And I do say good. I mean, obviously they're ranked 6th in our league, and there's a chance they could finish 6th. But you can't tell me that whoever finishes 3rd and has to face Grand Prairie in the first round, if they do end up coming 6th, that's going to be comfortable. Because let's say it's Airdrie that comes 3rd, and it's an Airdrie versus Grand Prairie first round playoff game. Well, Grand Prairie traveled to Airdrie already and almost beat them. Right. And then they got to come back the following week back to the Calgary area again. So 10-hour road trips 2 weeks in a row. And they competed against you guys. Like, that Grand Prairie team is only going to go up. So it wouldn't, everyone makes the playoffs this year with Fort Mac dropping out. So Grand Prairie could not win a single game all year. Not saying that they won't, but hypothetically could not win a game, and could then go and win a quarterfinal game for their first win of the year. That would not shock me, because the league is so close. I'm really interested to see how the Edmonton Cold Lake game goes. I want that game to be a close game, because then, from my perspective on the Bucks, I mean, we lost to Edmonton by 3, and then we beat them by 1, so we know we're at least equal to Edmonton. So if they can keep it close, or even somehow pull out a victory against Cold Lake, well, that just shrinks the league even more. And so I think there's nothing better than the league to see that. I enjoyed watching that game on film. Obviously, 1, because we're playing you guys next, and 2, it's just good to see good football. I enjoy and hard football. And Grand Prairie plays hard. My first game last year with you guys when I came to the Pack was against Grand Prairie, and they played hard then too. So it looked like Tyson down there. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name, but it starts with an M. He's been having a stud season there at receiver. And he put up a big game against you guys there too. I think he had 8 catches, 176 yards, and a touchdown. Suretsky for you guys, like you said, really big game. And it's cool to see the offenses to start moving a little bit, and hopefully we continue that, because as far as, we all love defensive football, but let's be real, we also love scoring points, and that's what it's about. So good to see that. I'm glad to hear Chris Burke is back. I actually didn't know he wasn't going to be back. So, but I did see him on the film, and I just thought he maybe missed the first game, but he's wrestling. Did you say something about a wrestler?
Yes. Yeah. He's him and another guy on our team, Brandon Hartel. They're in the wrestling circuit. I'm not sure what organization they're with, but they're in the wrestling circuit. It was a big goal of theirs to, do some wrestling and everything. And man, they're killing it.
That's amazing.
That's one thing where I've heard great things about their shows they do, and I believe they're the tag team champions. I don't know the association's name, but they're tag team champions. And I was teasing Chris saying, "Hey, next game, you got to come up with your wrestling belt."
Bro, okay.
As
we need to support this AFL family. Let's Chris Burke, if you're listening, I hope you are, buddy. I've known Chris for a long time. Really, really good human being, good teammate, good football player. Chris, if you're listening, I'd love to come watch a match. So if you've got something, maybe we can kind of make a get together, AFL guys going and supporting our AFL brothers in a wrestling competition. That'd be pretty sweet to see. So cool to hear.
It's very entertaining. Yeah. Chris Burrow, Brandon Hartel, they go by the Prophets.
Of course they do.
They do some great work there. And I've seen clips, and I've yet to make it up to one. I've been meaning to do that, and all I hear is great things. So I need to go and see the Prophets here, the champs, defend their title.
Yeah.
And either if they're what do they call it, if you're face, or like baby face, or turn heel. I think that's some wrestling terms there. That's my extent.
Yeah. I haven't really watched kind of wrestling since I was a kid, and I would watch like The Rock and Stone Cold, and back then I used to love it, but I wasn't allowed, so I'd always have to like sneak it and like stand. Back in the day, you didn't have remote controls when I was a kid, in the 90s. So we would, to change the channel, you had to sit close to the TV, or maybe this was just my parents like taking away control. I don't know. Maybe other people had remotes, but like I wasn't allowed to watch it. So I'd be downstairs in my basement watching it, and I'd be sitting right next to the TV. So if I heard my stepmom coming down the stairs, I could quickly change it. Now, as a kid, you don't realize how like that makes you look incredibly guilty, right? You just think you're so smart and you're outsmarting your parents. Is ridiculous. But yeah, I would love to go watch and support Chris doing that. So let us know, Chris. I'd love to come out. Yeah, as far as my game goes, it I mean, speaking on the parity of the league and how close everyone is, I mean, it's Sean again. First game, super close game. That first game, Edmonton won by 3, but they didn't actually lead in the game until they led in the game, which was at the very end with a minute left. We kind of let that one slip away. And this week it was kind of the opposite. They kind of, I think we scored the first touchdown, and then they went up 16-6, and then we got 2 touchdowns in a row. We had really good defensive play. We took a couple touchdowns off the board. We had some great defensive line play. Some guys come in and play linebacker that hadn't played linebacker before and did a really good job. Tony Morelli, who's also number 25, was also our running back at times, just an absolute beast of a human being. And Brett Mercier played his first. He's normally a running back. He played his first game as a strong side halfback beside me, and I'm really picky with my halfbacks. Like as a corner, I the chemistry with my halfback is very important to me, and I felt immediately comfortable with him, and he did a really good job and made some big plays for us. So we squeaked it out at the end. I won't lie. We won the game on a fake punt that I improvised with Xavier, and it's just so funny because I've been doing this for a long time. Like I'm not actually punting this year because I'm playing full time both ways. I'm trying to come off on certain aspects. I still have to kick off and do field goal because we don't have anyone else that can do it. But we found a guy that could punt. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll take off punting. So I hadn't punted at all during the game. And we get down we stop them on third down. This was a weird one too. So we're up 1 and they have a good field goal kicker. We're up 1. They have the ball on like our 42 and it's third and I don't know, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 8, something like that. And I'm thinking for sure they're going to kick the field goal. It's about a 47, 48 yard field goal, but this guy definitely has the leg. And he had missed one earlier, but I think it was deflected at the line. And then he made 1, 2. So he was 1 for 2, 47 yard. I'm thinking, 3rd and 10, they're definitely going to kick this field goal. Worst case scenario, he just tries to boom it and try to get that single to tie it up. But they don't. They go for it on 3rd and 10. And our D tackle, Dwight, who's just another beast of a human, just bursts through and sacks Mitchell to turn him over on downs, but there's still 45 seconds left in the game, and I think they had 1 timeout left. So we know we have to if we get a first down, we win the game. We don't. We run it twice to keep the clock running. They call their timeout, so they're down to no timeouts. There's 12 seconds left in the game. And we have the ball, I believe, at the 50. So like if we turn it over, if we go for it on third down and we don't get it, there's going to be about 9 seconds left in the game. They'll basically have time for 1 play and then a long field goal. We went to go run a play, and it was going to be a counter. And our counter had been working us for most of the game, and we run the ball really well. We ran the ball about 40 times in the football game, and only threw about 21 times. We were really running the ball well, and so we were going to run a counter. And I looked, but our quarterback had got told there was 10 seconds left. So he was feeling kind of rushed, and I felt uncomfortable. So you can see it on the film. If you watch this on the film, I turned to the ref and I called timeout, like right as he's about to snap the ball. And luckily the ref saw me call timeout and started blowing the whistle basically at the exact same time that the ball was snapped. Now it's a legitimate timeout. I called timeout. He saw the timeout before it was snapped, but the play went on. They tackled our running back. It would have been a turnover on downs, but I'd got to call the timeout in, didn't count. So then I'm like, I don't like this. Let's punt this. And I hadn't punted all game. So I went to my coach. I'm like, I will go punt this. My plan was to catch the snap, roll to whichever side they were going to give me the edge. I wasn't sure which side. I even thought about, like, we're on the 50. I literally thought about like running backwards, sprinting to the goal line, and then kicking it back out, thinking like that probably would take 12 seconds. Like all these thoughts are going through my head. And then I'm like, no, fuck it. I'm just going to roll for as long as I can and then kick it. And so hopefully my roll kills 3-4 seconds. The kick takes another 3-4 seconds. Hopefully we can make the cover. And then they have one kind of Hail Mary play. That was kind of my plan. But as I caught the snap, it was strong left. And normally I like to roll to the strong side. As I caught the snap, I recognized that the weak side edge guy took just a terrible angle. He went right at our up back, which essentially left nobody on the edge. So I just rolled out I saw this as the snap was coming to me. I saw the angle he was taking. So I knew I could just catch it and roll to the right. So I caught it and rolled to the right. There was obviously nobody in my face. And as I'm rolling to the right, Xavier looks back at me, and we hadn't talked about this. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. I just said, we're punting, and I told the coach I was going to roll and punt it. Xavier looked back at me, and when he looked at me, we literally made eye contact, and I knew because we've done this. We are 14 for 15 in our career on fake punts. No joke. This is a true stat. Anyone that's played against me and Xavier for the last decade knows that we do fake punts all the time, and him and I. But he looked at me. And then you can see it on the film. He looks back. I look at him. I know exactly what route he's going to run. He goes in, fakes out. As soon as he fakes out, I just flick my wrist, threw in the ball. He made a great catch over the shoulder. Game over. Now, I'll say this, very cool feeling because it worked out. There is not a single coach in the history of football that is happy with that decision. But here's the thing. Do not try that shit at home. That is a decade of chemistry with a guy that I've done this before. And also not a very smart play by the Edmonton player to give me the free edge like that. And fourth, it's the first time I was in there punting the ball. So they had to think something was up. They rushed the house at me. Like, you almost have to play safe there, understanding that I'm going back there. But they didn't. They made that mistake and we capitalized. But really cool moment for us to kind of end the game like that. We had trouble as a team closing games out. We lost to the Irish by 5, then we lost to the Elite by 3. We're a young, inexperienced team. And without sounding too cocky, I basically at that point was like, I'm not letting us lose this game. I'm going to at least go in there, roll and punt and kill as much time. We're winning this game. That situation allowed me to win the game in even a cooler way than rolling and punting. So I'm glad we got off the monkey off our back, and I know our group's feeling really good. And I want to quickly talk about our running back, Gavin Halverson. This is a kid I have a bunch of kids. I have about 4 or 5 kids on the Bucks right now, and I've talked about this before, that I've coached since they were all 13 years old and through high school. And Gavin Halverson's another one. Gavin Halverson, he went to play for the Okanagan Sun last year. This is his second year out of high school. And he had only ran the ball twice in the first 2 games. But I went to our coach. I said, look, we need to get this guy at least 15 carries a game. I'm telling you, he looks so explosive in practice. In the 2 runs that he's had in the game, he looks so good. So we kind of redesigned our offense. We ran him 30 times. We gave this guy the ball 30 times, and he ran his ass off. This guy, the Edmonton front 7 is very good and very physical, and he was getting just smashed all game long, but he averaged 5 yards a carry. He had 30 carries, 152 yards and a touchdown, and just allowed us to possess the football. So Gavin, I'm so unbelievably proud of that young man and what he did. He's such a just incredible human in character, and he never complains. He never whines. He just goes about his business. It's a coach's dream, and to see him have that success, I was just so happy. I know we had talked off air, and you noticed the pound the rock kind of game.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed in my film review of that game, because I was just seeing how close it was. I had to see, and as well prepping for you guys. It's a very good front 7 of the Edmonton Elite, and the way you guys ran the ball, your center and your guards doing a great job picking up the initial blocks and allowing them just to make, those are the essential blocks to help them make those reads, make those runs. It was quite key. So that's definitely something that we've prepared for, and it's something that we're I don't know. I'm sure we don't want to both say what we're both doing. So I think that's the fun of it for us here. But it was something that we watched, we looked over, we discussed, and said, all right, we got to make sure we're ready for that. So that's something too, which it's awesome to see probably one of your young players too take that, have his welcome to the AFL moment where, like, I can compete here, and against, at this point for him, grown men.
Well, that's the thing I told him after the game too, because so he took this year off a junior. He obviously redshirted last year, and so he wanted to come and get some more experience and some film. And I said, look, you are going to get, like, the players you went against on the Elite are all players that have already played junior or university or high level. And so I don't think you're going to get more physical. Like, these are grown ass men that have the experience of already playing in these leagues. It's actually going to be easier for you and less physical for you when you go down to junior and you're not playing with fully grown men who have already gone through the coaching and the experience of playing junior. So I said, this is going to be amazing for you. And he did. I knew he was going to be good, but he exceeded even my expectations, and they were very high for him. I mean, I don't think I've ever been in my entire football career. I don't think I've ever been in a game where the team that I was on ran the ball with the same guy 30 times. Like, that's it, kind of insane, right? Like,
it's a very I guess a few eras previous of style of running. Like, whereas one guy, he's the guy runs the ball. Now it's very community based. Mm-hmm. But
yeah, no, it was cool to see, and our O-line did a great job. I mean, obviously O-lines love running the ball. So and the thing is like we have the ability to throw the football as well, and that's what we were kind of trying to establish last week, was establish our ground game and make teams have to prepare for us. It's like, we're not really divulging what anyone's doing. The film is out there. And, obviously that game was 40 runs and 20 passes. Is that going to be how we play every single game? Probably not. Right. But that game, we were able to get away with it because we were running the ball so well. And we did kind of want to keep the ball in our possession. And so it just kind of worked out that way. So it wasn't initially the plan. I did want to get him, I said 15 carries. He ended up getting 30, and then Tony had 10. So we had 40 carries overall, which is just crazy. And it was successful. We won a really hard fought football game. Couple of stories I want to quickly go into with this game. Now, I will say this too. We got someone posted on Facebook right before we were about to record and asked us when the recording was coming in. And then I said, we're actually going to be recording it right now. And I said, so let's try something new. Let's do a live while we're recording. If you get a question in, we'll come back and answer it. And there's already actually a ton of questions on this. So we'll come to that at the end and talk about some of the questions on Kelsey Fender's post that people want us to talk about. But a couple funny stories. Well, one's funny, one is not funny. First funny story, and I told Mitchell that I would tell this story on the podcast. So Mitchell Phillips, quarterback, Edmonton Elite. He's also been the quarterback of Fort Mac. He was a stud corner for Edmonton in 21 when they went to the championship and lost to the Bucks. We were doing the coin toss. I was there. He was there. I deferred. So we won the coin toss. Actually, there was no coin toss. They just gave us the option. It was kind of weird. They were just like, yeah, you're the away team. You get the option. And I was like, well, is there a coin toss? And he's like, well, there can be. I was like, well, fuck no, I'll take the option. So I defer. I always like to defer. And then Mitchell goes, and I swear to God, he goes with he kind of thinks about it. He ponders for a second. And then just nonchalantly, he goes, we'll kick. And for those that don't understand, if we defer and then you choose, defer means we get to choose in the second half. So when we defer, if he then chooses kick, that means they will end up having to kick off twice because we will then choose receive in the second half. Now, he didn't realize this. So what happened was he said, we'll kick. And then myself, the referee, his entire team just was staring at him are you sure? We weren't sure if he was serious. And he's kind of looking at us and he's looking around. He sees us all looking at him. He realizes something's weird here because no one's saying anything and we're all looking at him. And then the ref goes, are you sure? And I'm kind of well, first of all, I think that his words are binding, but whatever. It was kind of funny to know. He's like, are you sure? He's like, what do you mean? If we kick now, then we get the ball in the second half. And I'm like, no, if we defer, and I explain the situation, he's like, oh, I thought it was Madden. Maybe it was funnier there than I'm telling the story. I don't know. But I told Mitchell I'd tell that story because I thought it was kind of funny in the coin toss. And there was a time a couple years ago with the Bucks where Todd Lewis made that mistake and the ref didn't let him get off the hook. And we actually had to kick off in the first half and the second half in Airdrie. So just if you're taking the coin toss, just be aware if a team defers, they're deferring their choice to the second half. So you actually have to choose take the ball or you'll be kicking off twice. The other not funny story, I wanted to give a shout out to Brian Carruthers with the Edmonton Elite. Brian had what was the worst injury I've ever seen in my life live. I've seen some bad ones. This was the worst. This was by far the worst. It was the most brutal, disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life in live football. I've seen this kind of stuff on TV. I haven't seen this in football. I hesitate to, out of respect to Brian, to go into details more than that. It just feels a little bit wrong, but it was really tough to watch and tough to see him like that. To his credit, he's a tough guy, and he was kind of I think he was probably in shock, but kind of laughing a little bit on the field, and when everyone really cared for him. It was a really brutal injury. I know he's going to have a long recovery, so I wanted to wish Brian well. I really hope you're doing well. I know surgery went well. I hope your recovery is well. And just a reminder, this game, this is what we do every week. We shit talk each other. We call each other out. We have these little arguments that are fun, but the reality is this is real life, and we are really sacrificing and risking our health and our bodies, and people need to go to work, and it's a serious thing. And so I will always, regardless if I hate you or I love you, I will always have so much respect for everyone that is willing to suit up on Saturdays in the summer and play Alberta Football League football because of how much everyone out there loves the game, because you just cannot do it if you don't love it. So it's cool to see when you're playing against another team, there's another 30, 40 guys that just love football and they're out there to compete and to win. So thoughts, Brian, and Edmonton. Good job, trainers and everyone involved, and I hope you're gonna be all right.
That's always tough to hear with tough to hear with our sport, and especially with, you know, I guess kind of like with my work and everything, and like, you know, it's tough because like that's gonna take some time away from either with work, whatever he does, and this and that. And I hope just overall, even outside of football, his situation is going to be taken care of, and you know, nothing too serious is going to distract from, you know, his life outside of football, because that's one thing now that everyone here in this league is built, enjoying, or just, you know, we're working towards. So all the best and speedy recovery. And, you know, just a reminder again that we're all dudes here who love football at the end of the day. And, you know, yes, we compete hard and everything and do all the extracurricular stuff that comes with playing football as men. And just, you know, we got to enjoy it. And I think always be grateful for our time in the field. That's one thing where myself personally, I always, you know, find a lot of gratitude in, you know, myself being able to say, hey, I get to play football today. Very grateful to, you know, my faith in the universe and everything here. So, yeah, let's all stay safe out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did want to give a shout out to, I know, you know, Tyler Shaver. Tyler lost his dog Callie this past week. I know it's been really tough on him. And as a person who has 4 cats right now, I used to have 5. I lost my girl Shadow. And actually, about 2 months after we lost the 2019 championship to you, Amari, I lost my first cat Shadow, who meant a lot to me. So I know all the pain that losing an animal feels. So I just wanted to give Tyler a shout out and your family. It's obviously, you know, animals come into our lives, and Callie obviously was given a really good life with you guys, and wouldn't have had that experience without you guys. So they come into our lives, they give us that wonderful stuff, and then they leave, and it's heartbreaking. But yeah, so I just wanted to give a shout out to little Tyler, and to Tyler and dog Callie and family, because I know Ty is a good guy, and that affected me when I saw the Facebook. So just wanted to give you a shout out there. I know you know Tyler as well.
Mm-hmm. It's tough hearing news with, you know, the animals and dogs and like life partners too, and dogs especially, because I feel like they have their own personality too, and you know, especially where, you know, growing up and having your dog be a part of you and going through, you know, different events with you. It's such a unique relation with dogs. Like I actually never had dogs growing up, but I've, you know, dog sit, walk dogs and everything. And I always find it very interesting to see like different dogs and their, you know, things they do and their mentalities and,
unique,
you know,
personalities,
all these different things.
Yeah,
personalities too, which is so entertaining. So
yeah,
you know, give my hearts out to Shaver for that, and you know, always taking the steps to grieve there and move forward, and just know he's all in our hearts here.
Yeah, and hopefully, like, the wonderful thing about football is that can help. So, okay, moving on. That's a little bit somber stuff, but it is sometimes it's important to talk about that stuff as well. But let's move on to some good stuff. So we have some questions that are coming up on the Facebook page, so we're going to go through them. So first off, Kelsey Fender, Wolfpack number 11, wants to know the Edmonton Elite week 2 recap, because I called them out obviously last week, if you listen to the podcast, and because they were trying to make fun of me about the podcast at our game last week and saying that no one wanted to come on. And I was saying, well, you're actually the only ones that don't want to come on. And I know you guys listen to the podcast because you talk about it a lot. So what's really funny is when we put that podcast out last Saturday, I had 2 Edmonton Elite members talk to me or send me a message while they were listening to the podcast at the game. Like before our game this past week, they were listening to it in like pregame warmups, messaging me about how they're definitely not hate listening to the podcast. So I thought that was pretty funny. Hey, look, you could, whether you're hate listening or love listening, it's totally up. As long as you're listening, that's what makes us happy. We aim to kind of entertain people as you're going on the road trip. So no, there was no mention this week of the podcast by them. which was nice because I think once you call them out and they hear themselves being called out on the podcast, now they're like kind of trapped because they can't talk about the podcast and make fun of me for it, because then they'll know that I'll know that they were listening. So I kind of put them in this weird little cycle. But I did have a few of them message me and let me know they were listening, so that was kind of funny.
I just hope it is at some point like they're able to come on. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's like whenever, I don't know. I feel like there's always this weird feeling where like, say you pick something like you're very hard, you're either hard against or very to the right of it, or you're just like, I'm just not, let's just say for example, not for the podcast. Like, I hope they feel at any point they're more than welcome to come on and like do their season preview and speak as well. Cause you know, it is something too where like we all are all under the AFL and like, you know, we all are meant to try and help grow this league and everything. And we do that by all coming together. I don't want, you know, it's just, it'd be nice to have them come on and say their opinion and hear from them. Not be the mystery men that I guess they like to be. But again, like the way they want to run things, cool. Their team, the way they want to run it, that's fine. Just know the invitation is always there. You know, we'll there might be the hard conversation like, oh, you're finally on, but good to have you on, and we can move forward from there.
Yeah. Hey, look, listen. Most people that know me know that I don't have a great relationship with Vince Roth, who's the president of the league. In like normal day-to-day circumstances, I have no time to like for him. It's just like our relationship, and he has really no time for me. But he was still on this podcast, and we had a cordial conversation. So, Edmonton, that is an open offer. Like we want you on the podcast. Like anyone who's on Edmonton, like reach out to me and be like, oh, come on. Now be careful because they might kick you off the team if you come on the podcast. So just clear it with them, I guess, first. Like I guess you need permission from your football team to talk. That seems kind of weird to me, but it is what it is. All right. Kelsey also asked, and I'll kind of let you talk about this one, Omari. He wants us to talk about the live stream success.
Yeah, the live stream. I think the live streaming side has been going well, just with week by week seeing the games go up and everything. Like I know last week we had the Wolfpack Cowboys game streamed. I was able to get to one of the. We had a frat guy. He's a guy who's going to come out. He's a frat guy. One of the frats here at UFC came out and like live streamed the game for us, so which was like sick to do that. And like all he had to do was move the camera. I think he was getting teased a bit on the chat where saying one of the people on the chat said that, hey man, keep the camera steady. You got Parkinson's. And
oh God,
I guess I know. Luckily he laughed it off and everything. So like, I feel like the live stream chat's also quite lethal there where got to handle it. But overall, like the success is going well just with like the actual streams. And with that too, like it is awesome because it's, you know, as us as players, like it's nice to have like family that's away watching and like listening and everything because we are getting views. Like this isn't something where like, oh, like only 10 people are watching. Like I'm gonna pull up the content right now as I'm doing this just so I get like live numbers. So like the Cowboys game, Cowboys and Wolfpack, we had 454 total viewers. So from when it was recorded to now, 454. The Jets and Airdrie, 815. And you know, that's something too now where it's awesome because that's many people watching in, listening in, you know, 20 minutes here, full time here and there. But one thing that I really want to touch on is just with what Cold Lake's been building off of. So now, if you watch the Jets and Irish stream, working with when I went up there for the first game and talking with Curtis, he actually has a nice setup where they got 3 cameras that all work in unison, and he can pick different angles. And so he did that for the first game. And then the second game, they're building it off now to where he was able to have the logo on, like a banner on with a score that shows up here and there, you know, really building off of it. And, you know, I know I've tried to reach out to teams to let them know like, hey, this is something that we want to do and build on and, you know, apply it for our community just to help us show, you know, we're more legitimate and just show like we're a step above what everyone likes to call Bush League. Because I don't think we're Bush League, but we have the opportunity here. But I wouldn't be surprised if Cold Lake has opportunity where maybe, you know, a couple of games in, they're running like commercials or an ad for their sponsor, and their sponsor's not going to pay them more money to then have more funds for the team. And just because they're doing more things, because now as Cold Lake, they can actually turn around and say, hey, sponsor, we now have we're averaging 800 viewers. We get interviews. We'd love to add a stream on or like a add-on if you pay us 300, 400, 200, whatever they work out, and that money now goes to the team. Like it's something now that's going to completely elevate the standard of our league and everything. And my end goal of this, this is just a little project that I do on the side. Like, just for those who are watching, like AFL Center doesn't have any association with the league. Like the YouTube channel, that's just me doing on the side. I love to have this channel get to a point where we get monetization status. It spits out, $500, $1,000, and give that to the league and say, hey, here's $1,000 that wasn't generated from football activities to now run the website, new trophy, help with whatever expenses there are, and have it be an asset for the league. Because that's one thing now, just, I guess in my career and everything, like, I guess on my work side, like, you want to have assets work for you. And that's one thing that like leagues don't really have, but it's nice to have something that like a channel that, hey, this is something that's an income stream, not an expense.
Yeah. And we've said this a lot, where Omari and I he started the YouTube channel on his own, and we started this podcast together on our own. We're not affiliated with the league. We'd love to be in some sort of way. It's disappointing. The league doesn't want me to call them out on the podcast, but the reality is we have a website that hasn't been updated since last season. We are halfway through this season. We have no updated website. There is no place where anyone can go and find the schedule, the standings, the stats, like the basic shit that people care about. And you've got people like yourself and me and Kurt Howland who are basically, and the Jet staff, who are promoting the league within and doing all this stuff outside the scope of the league board. And I understand fully, because I used to be the president of the league, that it's a part-time job, or it's a full-time job, really, if you want to do it correctly and want to put in the actual time and effort, and there's no pay. And I get that, but then don't do it. Find someone that is willing to try to make changes on the league, at least to update the website, at least to be talking to people like yourself and like me that are out here promoting the league and doing these things for the league. Like, how do we not have a website? It's ridiculous at this point. Like, this isn't even that hard. It's just, you could have a website set up tomorrow if you really wanted to. And I had, I'm going to later on, maybe after the season, because I'm scared that the league board might try to suspend me if I like talk too badly about them or tell them too many secrets. I don't know. Who knows? Even though I didn't sign anything that says I couldn't. But I'm going to tell some stories later on about some of the stuff that I was trying to do. And one of the things that I was trying to do was to get a website on Sports Engine. Now, if you don't know what Sports Engine is, it's an amazing little company that does a lot of different things for websites. And I had actually paid with league money $1,000 to this website to run this amazing website. And then when they decided they didn't want me anymore because I was trying to make too many changes, I guess, and I'll get into that story too, they just canceled all that stuff. I had a sponsorship. I had $1,000 sponsorship from Supplement King, and we were going to get a brand new trophy with that. It was going to be $1,000 trophy. We're going to call it the King Cup. That got kiboshed. I had a league-wide hotel sponsorship set up for $5,000. They were going to pay us $5,000 if we used their hotels, Best Western. That got canceled. I had a website set up. I actually paid. The league lost threw $1,000 away because they just didn't want to go with it because it was my idea, apparently. I had already paid $1,000 for this thing. And then 3 days later, when they decided to get rid of me, they just didn't follow up with that. So this is the stuff that's been going on with this league. Nobody there wants to change anything. Nobody wants to do anything. Nobody wants to, everything is just comfortable and let's just stay here and do it. And it's at this point, I'm just annoyed. And like, they know I know all this stuff. They know I have a podcast. They know I'm calling them out. And it's like they continue to just not do anything about it. And I'm not speaking to any one person in particular. This is just, anyone listening to this has to understand that not having a website is just absolutely asinine at this point. On top of that, they're not wanting to get involved in any of the media that people like me and Omari are putting out. So I don't know what anyone can do about this. Like, I wish there was a way that we could vote in people and like everyone that is a player in the league could get a vote, because right now the current system is really simple. Teams appoint people to the board. They vote for their own interests. And then those people that are appointed to the board from their teams vote on the president and the vice president and all that stuff. Nobody else gets votes. So it just becomes a slog fest of the same people who want to do nothing all the time. And if you want to prove me wrong, leaders of the league, do something about it. Like, make a fucking website that is updated. We're halfway through the season. At least do that. It's like, at this point, it's just ridiculous. So anyway, stop me before I get myself suspended somehow. I don't know.
I do want to say that I think Vince really reached out to myself and Kurt, and I wanted to get more information on like the YouTube channel and the clips he's putting up. So there is steps in motion, and I feel like that's good to hear. And I like, it's just tough to do. Like a lot of like the action steps come from other teams wanting to do the live stream on the YouTube side, and my end goal is again with the money, but I feel like the money comes in and that can help lubricate the process of like, hey, money's in, like ideas start flowing through. So
yeah,
that's where I'm at, and I feel like it's tough because from I think the short conversation had with Vince in that call, it was just the day-to-day stuff of the league can eats up a lot of their time, and it doesn't allow for other things. And you do know this as president, where like there's that day-to-day side of things. So maybe there's a conversation that needs to be had of like, hey, does there need to be like separate boards or a rearrangement where like, VP of marketing, VP of this, I don't know, like that's just stuff for end of the year to deal with. But
yeah, I mean, but that's the problem though, is like, that's their attitude, right? Oh, we'll deal with it later. Well, no, you should have a website up tomorrow. It should be updated tomorrow. Like, this isn't even hard. You could do it for a couple $100. You know what I mean? Like, we can just, it's not an expensive venture. And so I don't, I guess, have the ultimate patience for saying like, oh, the day-to-day stuff. Like, at this point, the day-to-day stuff is nothing. It's teams got to get their rosters in, teams get their stats in. This isn't taking up a lot of time. Just like, get someone to make a website, or at least get someone to update the website. That's all. Like, that's the bare minimum you can do this year, because people want to know. I have people reaching out to me all the time. Where can I find the stats? Where can I find the standings? And I'm like, I don't know, because there is no place. And it's sad, because we want to be able to elevate our league. And that's where I'm like, my frustration comes. It's not even really anger. It might sound like anger, but it's frustration, because I care about and love this league so much that it hurts me to know that we make ourselves look bush when we can't even have an updated website. So I'm just like begging the people in charge of the league to please do something and help the image of our league. Okay, moving on. Another person on the Facebook page asks us to talk about Airdrie's disappointing start. So interesting words, because they are 2-1. But I think from Airdrie's perspective, that probably is disappointing, especially in, they easily could be 0-3. They won a nail biter against the Bucks. They were down a lot against Grand Prairie. What are your thoughts on why they are not maybe having as much success as they probably thought they should have had by now?
I feel like they've had success. Like they're 2-1. You're above 500, so it's just you're at a win there. So I think it's more just like the expectations going into the season, where a lot of signings, a lot of big talent coming in, bodies, big numbers, and like that's really meant to help drive like expectations. And it's when expectations meet reality, it's that question now, like, what are they expecting? What's the reality of what they're seeing? And yes, they're winning games, but is their mentality, like, I guess, what did everyone think going in? Like, oh man, Airdrie's going to be this powerhouse because they have bodies and everything, and blowing teams out, and they can match up with the Jets. And just with this recent game they had, it didn't go their way. But I do feel like it's still they've had a good year, 2-1. They got a good team around them, good staff with Anton. Like, funny if I'm actually mentioning Anton here right now, and he's already saying like, hey, there's things to work on, things to go, and like, it's hard to say like they're not disappointed, because they're always improving, which I feel like is very different to say. So maybe the expectations were inflated and now they've been realigned to what reality is. But I highly doubt that they think they're in a disappointment. If anything, they're just reapproving, realigning, and readjusting. Like, it's tough, because then the only thing I'll say is that they have a lot of talent. Vardo, Shagun, Shaver, Marshall, all the backs, like Braxton. Like, I know there's a head like Josh, the specimen. That's a lot of talent to handle. So if anything, like just from my perspective, looking in like maybe like talent management of like, how do you want to manage all this talent and go from there? And, NFL teams do it. I'm sure there's a way that they can do it there. And I'm sure once they figure out that part, man, they're going to be scary to go against. But
yeah, I think
it's
so. I kind of feel like they're like, when I watch them, I feel like they're not performing to the level that I think I thought they were going to. I think Daryl was right when he was on the podcast talking about Vardo and how he's just not going to, like, he would have put up much better numbers if he had stayed with Calgary, because he would have been getting, 8 to 10 targets a game. He's not getting that in Airdrie because they just don't throw the ball enough in Airdrie. I think they need to throw the ball more. I think they need to allow Josh to learn on the go and make some mistakes and get comfortable throwing timing routes with his receivers. I think they rely on the run a little bit too much. They if I were to describe Airdrie as a whole, I would say they're pretty slow. They're, we start, the running backs are big, but they're not fast. Their linebackers and D-line are big, but pretty slow. They have maybe a little bit, some speed at corner, but not super fast, I would say, overall. So I think they're kind of, that's not a bad thing to be slow, but you kind of have to play a certain way, and they need to try to kind of like you said, it's matching the people they have and the talents that those people have, and then coming up with a system that fits those people. For myself as a defensive coordinator with my high school team, like, I don't have a defense that I run. I show up in the fall camp. I have an idea of certain concepts that I like, but then I see, who do I have? What are they good at? And then how do I make a system around that? And I think Airdrie maybe needs to look more into that, of like, how can we maximize our talent? And I think the first thing they got to do is start throwing the football more, and getting Vardo those 8 to 10 targets a game, and force feeding him and letting Josh make mistakes. Like, it's okay if Josh makes a mistake, but let him make those mistakes, because if he makes those mistakes in the regular season, in a year where everyone makes the playoffs, he needs to make those mistakes in order to fix those mistakes. So if you come into the playoffs and you're just all of a sudden, now you need to get in a situation where you got to throw the football, but Josh hasn't had the ability or the opportunity to throw the football 30 times in a game, then he's not going to be ready to throw the ball 30 times in a game. He's not going to know how to not make those mistakes. So let him make those mistakes. Let him throw the football. I would love to see the Irish throw the football 35 times in a game, just once, just to kind of unleash that, because he has the ability to do that, but quarterbacks have to get comfortable. So that's kind of my thought process on them.
They'll
go ahead.
Just my last point to add there, like, I wouldn't say it's anything disappointing. Just, I think they're always realigning, getting better. If it's one thing I know with Anton at the helm, like, they're always going to be looking to go. I know their mantra is to go 1-0 every day, and they're not going to be a team to sit around and mope and everything. They're going to get up, watch the film, do the work. They're going to be a team that does the work. So it'd be interesting. And they actually have a 2-week bye. They have a bye, team bye, and a league bye. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do coming out of that 2-week bye, because it could be a whole different team.
Yeah,
they have time to figure this out. So
yeah, and they'll adjust. They'll adjust.
They're in good hands.
Yeah,
they're in good hands. I'm not worried about them. But July 15th. If I don't have my baby by then, well, we'll see. I'm on baby watch in that time, so we'll see. Hopefully, we'll make that game.
You got to hold. Hey, I said to my wife, I'm like, whenever we're planning that, it has to make sure that I'm not going to be on pregnancy watch during the season, because that's just way too stressful. That was a mistake you made there, Omar. You got to be careful with that. Timing mistake, but no, that'd be awesome for you. Derek Newman. So this is kind of a situation we had come up on the Alberta Football League message board this week with steroid use in our league. And Derek Newman asks, or says, I heard/read about suspected use of drugs, players who may have been suspended in other leagues playing here. AFL not able to enforce drug testing. How can the AFL improve the product on the field if they can't clean up their league? Now, first of all, I take a little bit of offense to say we can't clean up our league. I think that, and maybe we'll dive into this, it's impossible to test for drugs in this league. There's no way this league will ever be able to financially. There's just so many other things the league could put extra money towards that would benefit the league much more than trying to test guys. It's been a problem all the time in our league. It's a problem in every league in the world, but definitely in the league that doesn't test. Now, do I think that they could still put a bylaw in place that says, this is just a thought, but like no drugs that are banned under WADA, which is the World Anti-Doping Association, are allowed in the AFL. Now, you wouldn't be able to test that, but you could have it on bylaw, and then you could, if you heard about it, or if someone was tested positive in another league and has a suspension, because the situation that we're dealing with the AFL is there is a player on Cold Lake that tested positive for a banned substance in the CAS in Ontario and is banned from playing, I believe, all sport in Ontario for 3 years. I could be wrong on that. Now, I want to be very clear. I don't make judgments. I don't know the story. This is just what's reported in the paper. It's a fact that he is suspended for 3 years from that league, and he is currently playing in the Alberta Football League. Because the AFL doesn't have a bylaw in place that states that players suspended from other leagues are not allowed to play. There is a bylaw in place that says like you can't be playing, CFL or junior and also be playing in the AFL. So you couldn't be playing in two leagues at once kind of thing. But there is no league that says or bylaw that says if you're suspended from another league, you can't play in the AFL. Do I think there should be? Probably. You could probably convince me that our league should uphold suspensions from other leagues. I think it just is probably the right thing to do, but I also could maybe be convinced that it's the wrong thing to do because I haven't put a lot of thought into this. What are your thoughts?
It's always tough because I see for the competitive side of it, like you want to make it as fair as you can, and I think I don't want to put any names out there because I don't want this to be that, but if someone wants to come into the league and go against, like, I want to know about them more before I can sort of say anything about that. But it's tough, I guess, for the league because like what the drug test costs, like $10,000 to run.
It's never happening. Yeah, that's never happening.
Yeah. That's never going to happen. So it's more of an honesty thing, and like just try and make it fair. Like I know there's a bunch of guys who like to tug for the game. Like I think that's fine. Like we're all men here, so I think at some point we should be able to handle it, and like you should have a clear understanding of what you're doing and all that. And I feel like if someone wants to get suspended from an outside league coming to us, I hope they just take this opportunity where they can redefine themselves, because I know it's probably tough to have your name put on publishments and everything, and getting the ban and the sanctions and all that. And I just see it as like hopefully they're able to then take the opportunity here and become better and, accelerate their life outside. So it's always interesting. It's a tough thing to navigate because to monitor, you need money. That's one thing the league doesn't have. That's very fluid right now, but I think honesty is probably the best way to go. And I mean, end of the day, if someone wants to play all juiced up, cool. If someone wants to play just, with a small test booster, because I know that the science has it, whereas men, our testosterone goes down, and maybe someone needs a little top up or something like that. Like whatever it is, like you do, you handle your business your way, and I feel like we'll be able to play. Like end of the day, I feel like it's something where like if you get, I think there's a flip question here now too. Like, is it an ego thing? Is it like a just catching up thing? We don't know, but there's the whole question now raised where like say we have two individuals. I'm taking it fully out of the league where say you have an individual where he person A, they do everything known to man that tries to give him an edge. And you got person B who does things the right way or like the natural way, let's call it. And person B still wins. Like there's that conversation too that can be had, but end of the day, it's just tough for our league to put in place because we can't monitor it. But I do like the idea of our league being a place where guys can come in and hopefully redefine themselves and pursue other avenues after.
Yeah, I think in the specific situation of the player in Cold Lake, this could have been very well a one of those things where he took a supplement and didn't know. I have no idea. So I'm no judgment of everything I've heard about this guy is that he's a great guy, great teammate, really good football player. it is what it is. I think there's something to be said about the AFL maybe putting in a bylaw that does uphold certain suspensions from other leagues. I think that can be at least discussed. I think personally, like my day job is I run sports camps for kids, but I'm also a nutrition coach. So I coach people in eating and nutrition for optimal health and how to optimize your body to be, the ultimate version of yourself, whether that be athletically or what. But so for me, people that do steroids, you're giving up a lot for a very short term thing. I think we live in a society where taking the easy way out or being, skipping steps is rewarded and talked about a lot, and it's easy to get, and people just want the easy way out. I'm pretty old school in that matter, where being the oldest of 6 kids, not having a lot growing up and having to work for everything. I like the idea of working hard for things and putting in effort and doing it the right way. I also like the idea of being healthy and staying young and being able to still move properly and all the things that just eating really well and taking care of your body do. So I just think it's kind of a cheat thing to do. But obviously there are guys that are on steroids in our league. That is 100% a fact. There's nothing the league can do about it. Like literally, unless someone wants to pay $100,000 a year to get a drug testing company to come out and do this, it's not feasible. I mean, even in junior, like when I played junior, they do testing. There are rules about being on drugs in junior. I could have easily been on steroids in junior. I wasn't tested once in my 4 years of junior. I never even saw people get tested, even though there was always like thoughts and people would talk about like, oh, they're going to come this day, never happened. There's so many people that I played junior with that could have been on steroids and never got tested. So even in that league where they do have laws, it's just do have rules, it's just too expensive to do that. So I don't think it's really about cleaning up our league. I would hope that those people maybe don't do that, but I mean, there's nothing honestly that we can really do besides putting in the bylaw, at least having it there, and maybe respecting suspensions from other leagues. But
yeah. You want to hear? So I have a funny story about junior getting tested. My first year on the Colts, we had a running back, Cam Fox, who had a game where he went off for like 300 yards. I don't remember the touchdowns he scored, but he went for 300 yards. Got player of the week in like the CJFL and as well on the CTV also featured him. Very literally that week he gets notified, you've been randomly selected for a drug test.
Yeah, that's
and the entire team was killing us. I was laughing. Like he passed, which is fine, but goes off for 300 yards. Oh, drug test next week.
Yeah,
random.
But that's how you have to do it when it costs so much money. That's literally what they do. It's never random, because if it's random, it's a waste of fucking money. So they try to find the guys who might get positive tests, right? So that doesn't surprise me at all. That is funny though. Tim wants to know, Omari, and Tim, the question you asked me is fucking dumb. Why did you ask me this? But I'm gonna do it anyways. Omari, well, first he asked, do I think pickle juice is a good hydrator / cramp reducer? Pickle juice is great. I drink pickle juice pretty much a little bit every day, but I also really like pickles in general. But coconut water, it would be better. Avocados would be better. My thing is coconut water during the games, and eat bananas and avocados before halftime of the games to really help with the cramping. Cramping is also just kind of can be slightly genetic. I get calf cramps. It's just something I've always had, and also heat related. And also if you play both ways, and get really tired, then you get the cramps. Omari, Tim asks you, if you had to pick any other team in this league to play on, who would it be?
Ooh, that's a good question. I know that's gonna stir up some of the boys on the pack, but I'll put it this way: if I was a new player, I finished junior as 2018, I would have to go. I'd have to go Bucks, and then part of me and I'll say Cold Lake here, and I'm just saying this on the hypothetical question, but the reason why I would pick Cold Lake is just with being able to compete with those guys at practice. Because that's one thing do enjoy from practice, where you get to compete with guys iron versus iron and get better that way. Not saying like anything implicating anything, but like what's the current situation with Pack. And I love our team here at Pack and what we're building. But just to answer this hypothetical question, where if I was a new player coming in or whatever happened, I'd say Bucks or Cold Lake. And I'm sure I'm going to get some DMs saying, "Oh man, you wouldn't come to the XYZ team." But end of the day, it's just a question, to help fulfill everyone's all that. I'm sure when this episode comes out and we're gonna be driving to Red Deer, they're gonna hear this and then I'm gonna hear about it. But look, it's just a question. Just answering it for everybody here. And, fortunately that reality or that question doesn't exist.
So, well, honestly, it makes sense. Like if you want the full AFL experience, choosing, somewhere like Red Deer where we get a great fans and a great product and great atmosphere and great field. I mean, that's fun to play with, right? That's fun to play on a team like that. So, and then Cold Lake, for exactly kind of like you said, it is good to practice against really good players.
And I was gonna say, I do like the red. I do like your jerseys in the Bucks. That's one thing. Like the all black. I do. I have thought myself like, the all blacks do look clean.
The all blacks are sick, man. So we're hopefully gonna have all whites next. We used to have all whites, but then here's a story. We used to have all white jerseys, and then some idiot washed our all whites with our all reds, and then our whites became pink. Okay, so now we don't have all whites. We have all kind of white, kind of pink. That sometimes in years past we've worn these disgustingly ugly kind of pink white jerseys for the breast cancer game. And thankfully, thank God we're not doing it this year, because when I say kind of pink, kind of white, it's the ugliest shit I've ever seen in my life. And these jerseys were I would rather put on the green Irish jerseys than these fucking pink, white Bucks jerseys that some douchebag, I don't even know who it was. I hope you're not listening to this and now you're all mad at me. Some douchebag washed the white jerseys with the red jerseys and the white jerseys became pink. So those are no longer in circuit. We're hoping to get a brand new set of whites next year, but our all blacks are very nice. My actual favorite combination is our black jersey with our red pants, personally, but I do love the all blacks. Tim also asked me, and Tim, I don't have a good answer for this question, but you asked and I said I would answer these questions that were on here. Tim says, if you had to kick a team out of the league, what team would you choose and why? Literally, my honest answer is I don't want to kick any team out of the league. I don't even know how to answer. If I had to kick out, there's just nothing. Like, I want more teams. I want more people able to play football. I don't want anybody out of the league. In fact, quick story, in 2019, the Jets were caught doing some shady stuff with flying players in. I was the vice president at the time. And the president of the league at the time was a member of the Jets. So I had to kind of take over this investigation because the president at the time obviously could not do that because he was a member of the Jets and the Jets were being investigated. So I got forced into essentially looking at all these complaints, and people were sending me screenshots of receipts and text messages and all this stuff. And I was like bombarded with this information. We had to hold a hearing. The Jets eventually were found guilty. By the way, I didn't even get it's so stupid. So the president of the league doesn't get a vote in anything. So I was taking over the role of the president because the president was a member of the Jets. And so I had to get all the information and then present it. And then there was a hearing, and the Jets came on and spoke, and the league and the complainers came on and spoke. And then the league voted 4-0. I didn't even get a vote, but the league teams voted 4-0 against the Jets. The Jets were kicked out of the league that year in the middle of 2019. Halfway through the season, they were in first place, kicked out of the league. Then there were they were threatening to sue. And by the way, I'm forcing. So the president then had to resign. So then I became the de facto president, and then had to deal with I was fielding calls from Jets players' wives and radio hosts in Cold Lake. Media was calling me on my personal cell phone because the Jets gave him a number and asking me why are the Jets kicked out of the league? All this stuff. I was on the phone. There was a time during the period where I was on the phone for 6 hours a day for 3 days straight. No joke. Talking to wives and players and news media, and everyone was so upset. The Jets, because I think the Jets were brand new that year too, or maybe the year before. I don't know. But they were just I was just dealing with all stuff. I couldn't sleep. I was getting calls from Travis Levitsky gave me a call and we had a good conversation. And Dean, the kicker, was giving me calls, and I was being trying to talk to the league about all this stuff and thrust into this position with the Jets. Eventually, the season ended. It was Bucks versus Wolfpack in the final. You guys won. You went on to the Nationals. Then we had to deal with the fact that Cold Lake was technically a team in bad standing, and everyone wanted Cold Lake out of the league. Like they just wanted to boot Cold Lake, never let him back. Like 100% of the team said, get rid of him. We don't want him back. And I, even though I have no voting power, I drew a hard line in the sand and I said, you guys are fucking idiots if you want to kick this team out of the league. Yes, they messed up. They made a mistake, but let's look at this team. They're perfect for the AFL. They're in a great city with great support. They have great sponsors. They've got a great product on the field. They've got a great facility. They have everything you could ever want. They're doing stuff in the community. You're looking at this so narrow-mindedly, and this is a problem with our league. You're looking at this in just like this tunnel vision of like, oh, they cheated. We need to kick them out. But you're not looking at all the good stuff that this team has to offer. So then the next AGM, Damon Schaub, who's the president of the Jets, comes and they have to basically apply to the league. So they come to the 2020 AGM. I'm the current president. Don't have a vote, but they have to come reapply to the league, and then the league votes if they accept them back in. And Damon shows up, and Damon will admit that this was terrible. Damon shows up with one piece of paper. And it's like, this is our team. And it was like basically photocopied from their last year, the year before that. It had nothing of like, this is how we're going to fix this. This is what we're going to do in our community. But it was terrible. So, of course, the league voted, no, we're not having him back. And Cold Lake was then officially dead. Like they were not allowed. They were voted, no, you're not allowed in our league. So then I had to come out and I had to say, look, guys, Damon, this isn't his comfort level. He doesn't love speaking in front of people. He was ill prepared. We still have to look beyond this. I felt so strongly in the fact that we needed to have a team like Cold Lake in our league as long as we could fix them and make sure they're doing things right because of all the positives that they could bring to our league. And I'm just a person that I want to look past the negative stuff, and I want to see what are the positives this team could bring to our league. And I just saw so many. So I fought and I fought and I fought, and I convinced the league to give Damon and the Jets one more chance to come up with a new, better proposal. And then they did it. They blew it out of the water. They came up with a great. I literally was messaging Damon like, "This is what you need. This is how you need to do this. This is what we want to see from you." And then the league voted them back in. So I am the only reason, the singular. And I anyone can back this up. I am the singular, and the Jets know this. I am the singular reason the Jets still exist in our league today. The only person who fought for them was me. And I had to fight so hard. They got voted out of the league, and then I had to keep fighting and eventually convince the league to give them a second chance. The only reason that team still exists is because someone like me fought for them. And I'm not saying that to blow my own horn or whatever. This is just an objective fact of reality, right? So the Jets, they kind of owe me a little bit. I don't know. Maybe they can take me out golfing when I come up there on July 15th. Maybe Damien can take me out for a round or something like that. But that is a true story of what happened. I saved the Jets. I don't even remember what we were talking about before, but I did want to. That was going to be one of my stories that I told.
Yeah, I know. That's a great story. The question was, I guess, which team you kick out?
Oh yeah, none of them. I don't want to kick any team out.
So let me build off that question. Let's flip it. What cities would you like to see added?
I love it.
To the league and give it top three.
Yeah, Lethbridge number one. So Lethbridge, fantastic football community. There's no reason they can't support a team. If you are in Lethbridge or there's a group of Lethbridge needs to 100% needs to be the next team in our league. I would say if not Lethbridge, Medicine Hat, but not both. But Lethbridge down south would be amazing. I would say if the Calgary Kings actually want a team, move to like Cochrane or something like that. Maybe. I don't know. I still don't love having all those teams in one area. But Lethbridge, honestly, I don't know if where else. I mean, maybe Fort Mac again eventually, probably, right? If Fort Mac could come in, but I would say Lethbridge 1, Fort Mac 2. I don't know if there's really another place. What about you?
Lethbridge for sure, and I have a pretty good connections in Lethbridge football, and I've been talking to them about it. Like, I know the junior team got shut down, so like, hey, go to the men's and like show that you can put together a strong AFL.
Did the junior team get shut down? Oh, I didn't hear that.
They did.
Oh, that's
CJFL has even stricter like policies to get in. Like they're really hard on like if you're going to enter a team, how you have to show like I think $500,000 in money to show, because you basically need to have like a year's worth of expenses paid for, and as well to show resources to continue, because they don't want to have it where it's a one and done because it looks terrible.
Of course, yeah.
So that's one thing there. I think Lethbridge, I think like you want to go down the line of the Q2, like Lethbridge, Calgary. I know like AJ and I don't actually know the other parties that are trying to run the Calgary Kings and bring them in. Like I'm all for more teams, so I guess it is probably tough to have it with two teams in the same city. So maybe they go Chestermere Kings. I don't know, like see what that like either way they make it like just down the line. Calgary has one.
Cochrane Kings, man. Cochrane has a great facility out there. I'm telling you. We're
They
actually going to
do.
have AJ on the podcast. I told him we'd have him on and he can talk about his Kings and stuff like that at some point as well. But
Yeah, maybe Canmore. I know they have a football program, but like, it might be tough out there because it's just something to the side. I think just for our province, as long I think if we can get 9 to 8 teams, we're good because we had the Fort Mac and we add Lethbridge as 8 teams. I think that's a good base right there to like go from.
You know where I could see, which would be kind of for some teams it would be great. I think some teams just they wouldn't be able to go there because it's too far. But Kelowna would be kind of an interesting because it's such a football community. And I mean, it's only 6 hours. I mean, it's closer, like Kelowna's closer to Calgary than Fort Mac is, right? So, like, or at least they're very similar. That would be kind of cool, right? Like to have a one kind of BC based team, or even if like they could get a team in like Invermere and like guys from Kelowna could travel up or something like I don't know. That'd be kind of neat. But Lethbridge, I think, like, yeah, the people who are running the junior team in Lethbridge, like, refocus and get on the AFL. I think that'd be a great spot. Okay, quickly, Mari, we are deep on this one, which I'm sure hopefully it's helping people on the road trip. But let's just quickly, before we end, dive into this week's game. So we've got Bucks, Wolfpack. Obviously, we know who each other's going to choose. In that one, I'm really looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, Mari. We definitely need to get a picture together after the game. Make sure we get the representing the AFL Uncensored. So let's make sure we do that. I'm looking forward to seeing Daryl again. As always, I've played against Daryl my entire AFL career and then played with him last year, which was a pleasure. I'm looking forward to seeing Kelsey and Sicky and all those guys that I appreciate and respect. And I do think the Bucks are going to pull it out. I'm going to say, I think it's going to be 35-21 Bucks. What are you thinking?
I like St. John's score. I think he picked the Bucks. I'm picking Wolfpack. Us going 28-21.
28-21.
28-21. You guys are gonna score. We're gonna score. Daryl's now in rhythm, just with coming off a big game. It's something here too where I feel like both of our offenses are rearing to go, and it's gonna be up to our defenses here to see who can get that stop. Because, one thing I'm definitely trying to game plan here is not to give you guys the ball in the last 2 minutes, 30 seconds, 10 seconds, or whatever happened in Edmonton. I don't want that to happen to us for 2 weeks in a row. But I do think it's going to be a hard fought game. I think we match up very well just with like young players.
Yeah.
Thinking for them it's going to be nice because they're like, okay, like, you played high school. You're only 2 years out of high school. I'm 1 year out of high school. Like, it'll be a good matchup that way. Very high flying. I want to say lots of speed. I'm sure the Spice Rack is ready to go. Wolfpack, we don't have a name yet for anything that we have, but I know for the Bucks that you guys have the Spice Rack, and that's like kind of the motto you guys have. For Wolfpack, we don't really have like a motto or a thing that's like our thing, but I will say all of our rookies have been wearing ski masks to practice. We have what we call them the Shiesty recruiting class. So maybe they wear their ski masks, maybe they don't. It's just part of the team culture here. So we're building off that. So
hey, that's awesome.
We'll see who wins.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That stuff's fun, right? Like the Spice Rack is an old term the Bucks used to use back in 2016 with receivers, and I'll have to figure out something else. But Spice Rack kind of works good, but we haven't really talked about that much either. But it's cool to have those little things that teams do. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to the game, Omari. I can't wait to get going. It's supposed to be a beautiful night. Obviously, Great Chief Park is, in my opinion, the best facility in the league. We also are going to have, so here in Sylvan Lake, we have a great football program, our Adam program, which is like 8 to 10-year-olds, is going to come and play a game at halftime. So it's kind of a special game for me for a number of different reasons. One, going against you and the Pack and my old team, and two, having the community I coach in. Our Adam program is going to come, and all their parents are going to be there. So there should be a lot of fans there. Beautiful night at Bower Ponds. It should be a lot of fun. Before we sign off, let's quickly talk our predictions for Cold Lake Edmonton. I'm really interested in this game. I think Edmonton's defense is going to do a really good job against Cold Lake. I don't think Cold Lake passes the ball extremely well. It looks like Cole Bridges is out with a wrist injury or a hand injury, so that hampers them a bit. They do have some studs still at receiver, but their quarterback is still kind of learning. His ball is a little bit wobbly at times. He's got to tighten that up and trust himself. I think he does have the ability to do it. He's just under pressure, maybe not quite there yet, which is to be expected. I think that Cold Lake's defense is scoring points almost kind of at will, it seems. Gabe have interceptions every game. I think he's got 2 pick sixes already, maybe just one. I'm not sure, but I think he's got a pick in every game. Stop throwing to number 12 on Cold Lake, people, because here's the thing. Then I have to hear about it and about how great he is and how no one can throw on him. And it's fine. Just stop throwing them. It's fine. Like, just throw to somebody else. Like, just don't, let Gabe get 0 more interceptions on the year. Just don't throw to him. It's kind of silly to begin with. He's baiting you the whole time. Look, he's a good corner. He knows what he's doing. Your guy looks like he's open, and that is on purpose because good corners make guys look open and then take the ball away. So stop throwing at number 12 on Cold Lake. So, Gabe, I'm sorry you're getting no more interceptions because I'm telling the league, stop throwing at that man. Okay. But I do think Cold Lake will find a way to win. I think Edmonton's offense is still taking some time to get moving. I think it'd actually be a low scoring game because Edmonton's defense is very good. So is Cold Lake's. I'm going to take Cold Lake 17-10. What do you got?
I'm going to take 21-10 to the Colt for the Jets.
Okay.
I think their run game is gonna really be their pull through again. And like one thing I've been hearing from the Airdrie side is that I think they got to experience the new recruit that the Jets brought in on the line, and he was just bullying people again, fresh coming off of, I think he was coming out of the CFL training camp or practice roster, whatever, but he was just bullying people. So you add him to their already strong line, and their front five is going to is going to be a good matchup on the front five for the Cold Lake versus the front five for the Elite. And that's really where the game's going to be decided, I believe. And that's just what I think. Go from film. And, I'm sure Cold Lake's probably taking notes from seeing how you guys run the ball, and they'll adjust. I'm sure Edmonton's gone back to their drawing board and see what they can do and make some adjustments there. And, that's the beauty of football. Someone always wins, someone always loses on a play, and we get to line it up again and do it over and over and over for 180, 60, 70 times.
Yeah, keep going. Cool. I think we're in for 2 really good games tomorrow. I hope both are going to be streamed. I'm not 100% sure. Edmonton is probably not. I don't think they are doing that down there.
I can give an update on that. Curtis from Cold Lake mentioned he's going to be doing the live stream. I don't know if he's going to be bringing the cameras, but he's offered to do it. Again, do it on the Cold Lake side, and both games are live streamed. For our game, I'm bringing all my gear, so we just need someone to man it just up there. I'll have literally my phone, the gimbal, and everything on the field. So, and you guys have Wi-Fi there, so I can save my data.
Yeah,
but
we do.
The game will be live streamed for us too. So hopefully, there's a play. Either we have someone to man it, so all they got to do is just move the camera.
Sweet.
Along the plates.
Okay. Well, yeah. Talk to me when you get there tomorrow. We'll try to find some. I'm sure there's someone that we can get to do that. Cool. So I think we've got a couple things coming up. I want to get Jordan Heather, quarterback in the NFC, on. I'm going to talk to him, Omari. I'll talk to you. Maybe we can record that Sunday. It seems to be easier for us to record these weekly episodes on Fridays. We tried to do it Wednesday, and just Wednesday's just kind of tough. And so I know they're a little bit later than people obviously want, but we are doing our best. We're pumping out weekly episodes. Thank you very much to Danny Warwick and Warwick Grain Carriers, Travis Levitsky and Jeff Rambo for donating to the podcast and helping us to be able to pump out weekly podcasts. The more podcasts we pump out, the more money it costs me to pump them out. So thank you for Warwick Grain Carriers being our main sponsor, and then Travis Levitsky and Jeff Rambo for making some donations to the podcast. Omari, I can't wait to see you tomorrow. I can't wait to battle. Stay safe. And please send us out.
Yeah, looking forward to tomorrow and for the Edmonton Elite and the Jets. Everyone's have a safe travels. You can find us here on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, anything where you get your podcasts. I am behind on the YouTube to put them up. I need to render out all of our other episodes to put them up there, so you will see them up on YouTube here soon. Looking forward to another round of games here. Game 4, game 3 for some teams. Some are on bye now. So, hey, we're just around that halfway point. I think now we start having some league buys kicking in. So we all enjoy our summer. So let's all play hard, play safe. Looking forward to seeing here another week of football.
Awesome. See you tomorrow, Mari. Drive safe.
You too as well. Take care.